My next guest is one of the New York Times top media reporters, a highly respected writer and author who's out with a new book titled Insurgency, a timely book that dives deep into the modern GOP, Fox News, Trump, and much more. Joining me now is that author and reporter for the New York Times, Jeremy Peters. Jeremy, thank you for joining us. Great to have you on, my friend. Long time since we've done TV together, but good to be back with you. So tell us about the book, and specifically the part of the book where you talk about the relationship between Trump and Fox News and others. Break it down for us a little bit, will you?
Sure. So I think, as your viewers know, we've seen over the last few months kind of a pulling back in a lot of the conservative media establishment, Fox included, of covering Trump. They've moved on, or they're trying to at least show like they can promote other candidates that are not Trump. But this is a long history. I think Trump wouldn't have been president without Fox News, but he also wouldn't have been president if he didn't pick a fight with Fox News. And what I mean by that is he is good at finding enemies. He's good at finding people who are going to make him seem like he's getting picked on and that he's kind of a target of establishment interests. And that's exactly what happened in 2016. And what we're seeing play out now is pretty much the same thing. Fox News deciding that for now, it's sustainable to not really talk about Donald Trump as much, to criticize him wherever it's feasible. But let's not fool ourselves. As soon as their viewers and Republican voters, who are their viewers, start going the other way, that's where Fox is going to be.
So Jeremy, that brings up from the book, it leads into the piece that you wrote Friday or Saturday. Full disclosure, I was quoted in the piece, but it was interesting. It's something we had talked about early last week, maybe the week prior. Fox Digital had done a piece, a 3.5-minute piece, where they polled conservative voters, would-be voters, and unanimously, at the end of the piece, they said they would vote for Ron DeSantis, not Donald Trump. Now, you and I both have done TV long enough to realize a prepackaged piece that's written like that goes through layers and layers of editorial, gets sign-off on it. What do you think the message Fox was sending their viewers with that piece?
I think, honestly, Eric, it's a fight between two very powerful figures. Rupert Murdoch and his son Lachlan, who control Fox Corporation on the one hand, and Donald Trump. I think we've seen this time and time again where they are always looking to one-up one another, show each other who's boss. And you know what? In this fight, there really is no boss at this point. It's interesting to me because they both benefit from having this tension, right? Like the media loves tension. We love stories about fights, especially, if you're in my position, fights among Republicans. I think that they know at Fox that right now they can afford not to have Donald Trump on the airwaves 24/7 like they used to, but we'll see what happens once he announces. And I think as well as I do that that's real. He is going to announce, at least as things stand right now, he's going to announce. And I think it's going to become harder for Fox or for any media entity like the New York Times, MSNBC, USA Today, you name it. It's going to be harder to ignore him.
So, Jeremy, you write the piece. I'm just curious, did Fox reach out to you? Did they like it? Did they dislike it? Did they have an opinion?
I mean, I haven't heard anything since the piece ran, but I will tell you this. I don't think that they are displeased with this narrative being out there. They're being sued for a lot of money right now, and they need, well, I shouldn't say they need, but it benefits them to a certain degree to have a story out there about them not really being all in with Trump. So,
So let me throw this to you. The piece came out on Saturday that I saw it, and then on Sunday, yesterday, I saw a lot of pictures floating around the internet of Trump and Tucker Carlson kind of yucking it up a little bit in the Trump box. I'm trying to square the circle here. Where is it that Tucker? Let me ask you this. I'll be straight. Is this the first step of the Tucker for president move, and Tucker stabbing the Trump MAGA voters and Trump himself in the back?
So, Eric, I think you know as well as I do that Tucker, in private, what he says about Trump is very different than what he says about Trump in public. And it benefits him to be seen having photos taken with Trump at the golf course and everything. I think I would not be surprised at all to see Tucker. I quoted him in my book. He said, "I am voting for Kanye West." This is in 2020. So, like, he didn't vote for Trump as far as we know. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there with him in the ballot box, but we know that Tucker Carlson is one of these people who benefits from having the Trump audience on his side, but thinks very little of the people who make up that audience.
Yeah, I would agree with you fully. And Jeremy, you know these people. You know what's going on behind the scenes. Tucker may want to run for president, and all this nonsense of Trump Tucker or Tucker Trump 24. Neither one of those guys would stick around to be the vice president. Both would want to be the president. And right now, I can imagine Tucker doing it, even though he's laughing hysterically next to Trump. I wish we had that picture here. We thought we might, but laughing hysterically next to Trump. I'm trying to figure it out, Jeremy. Final thought.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, I think there are a lot of people, Eric, who snicker behind Trump's back, who say that they support him publicly and they like his ideas and they like him, but privately it's a different story. And that, to me, it's the ultimate fallacy of the conservative media. Is there are an awful lot of these people who pretend like they are Trump supporters for their audience.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, my friend, don't lump us all into the conservative media because.
No. I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. But
great.
You know what I mean. You know these people.
I do know them. And what Tucker does never ceases to surprise me. Jeremy Peters, great having you on, my friend. Hope to bring you back and pick up that book, Insurgency. Don't forget, great book, great author right there. Thanks, Jeremy.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. With inflation at its highest level in 40 years and interest rates skyrocketing, your retirement plans are in danger. Well, our friends at American Hartford Gold can help show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Yeah. If you call them right now, they have a special offer. They will give you a free gold coin on your first qualifying order. So don't wait. Call now. Here's the number. 866-935-4309. That's 866-935-4309 or text Newsmax to 65532. That's Newsmax to 65532. Thank you.